So ChatGPT 5 is finally here, and I'm going to follow up with a review of this on the site humanaugmented.com. But I just want to follow up on a comment made by Sam Altman in which he claims that the latest version will kind of put a PhD expert in any questions that you ask. Well, it just so happens that I do indeed have a PhD on William Blake, and I'm going to try it out with a little test that I've been using in pretty much every version of ChatGPT since 3.5, and that is to get to ask to write a poem. So you can use the poem writer, and I'll come back to my opinion on poem writer generally. But in this case, I'm just going to ask it to write a poem about a tiger in the style of William Blake. So one comment that I'll make immediately is that as soon as I hit the return button, ChatGPT goes to work with a speed that puts to shame pretty much any human poet that I know. And then, sort of within a few seconds, we have a version here, which also says, do you want another version in the illuminated manuscript style? I'll come on to that in a moment. So just to read out part of this poem, Tiger of the Burning Vale. Tiger, tiger crowned with flame, in the forest none can tame. Eyes like suns in midnight's dome, wander where thy shadows roam. What immortal hand or sight called you forth from breathless night? What dread forge and hammer's might shaped your stripes in molten light? I'll skip to the end. Tiger, tiger, fierce and free, child of dark eternity, in your gaze all worlds conspire, flame that neither ends nor tires. Well, a couple of things to make. I mean, one of the first remarks I'll make is that compared to the earliest version of ChatGPT, which basically couldn't scan verse, it couldn't capture the rhythm, the meter of poetry, that's not a bad job at all. In fact, it very effectively captures the meter, the rhythm of William Blake's original poem, The Tiger. And beyond that, however, I mean, one of the reasons it does this is because it straightforwardly plagiarizes the poem. I suppose you could say that, this is what a lot of people would do if I asked them to write a poem about a tiger in the style of William Blake's Tiger. It's lifting whole phrases. But it also then, and this is where it becomes quite interesting to me, as evidence that ChatGPT doesn't really know what it's doing, a lot of this just doesn't really make sense. Through the jungle's breathing hush, not entirely sure what that metaphor is there. Your treads a silent silver rush. That's just nonsense, to be honest. It sounds poetic, but it doesn't have any particular meanings. Now, there are plenty of critics who would say that Blake himself didn't understand what he's meaning. I'm not one of them. I disagree quite fundamentally. I think Blake was developing an obscure mythology, but largely he was using it to, if you like, perform a kind of abstract reasoning model, which is very hard for large language models to do. So I'll be doing a lot more work with ChatGPT 5. I'm extremely interested. I'm not simply critical of LLMs for an awful lot of their capabilities, but an interesting aspect for me is how, particularly when we look at poetry, it's about creating unusual voices that break with typical probabilistic patterns. And that's precisely what large language models, LLMs, are not designed to do. However, if you'd like, I can also create a visually ornate, illuminated manuscript style. Yes, create a visually ornate manuscript style of this poem. And if ChatGPT can do this, I will be extremely impressed. So within a space of about a minute and a half, it's produced this illuminated manuscript of The Tiger of the Burning Vale, which actually, in some respects, I mean, is extremely impressive as a piece of work via Sora. In a minute and a half, I simply could not produce something ornate. It is not a piece of William Blake's work, however. It's, it's a rather kitsch appropriation which you probably find in plenty of those kind of 19th century Victorian and Edwardian books appropriating medieval style poetry and lacking the genius of a Morris or something like that. So a great thing for me is that, yes, ChatGPT is capable of producing workable pieces of art and writing. Is it PhD level? No, not in the arts. I'll come back with some future experiments to demonstrate this. I've been working already this morning on this. It lacks some of the real idiosyncrasy and that human touch of human artists.